Welcome to Command the Room. I'm your host, Dr. Miluna Fausch, and I help executives, professionals, and startups grow careers, rev up sales, and attract funding by teaching them how to command the room through effective public speaking. Because let's face it, life's a pitch. Our intention today is to inspire you to learn about the importance of your voice as key to your positive influence, professional and personal power, and the success of your career. I am here today with the incredible, energetic Vanessa Russell, Cisco executive by day, mother, wife of a pastor, we could go on, and visionary founder of Love Never Fails in the rest of her waking moments. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you for having me, Miluna. What a pleasure.
Thank you for being with us. First question, tell us about Love Never Fails and how it all began.
Sure. So Love Never Fails started in 2011 when actually in 2010 is when one of my dance students was actually assaulted. I volunteer as a dance teacher. I've been doing that for many, many years and still do that in the East Bay. And there in 2010, one of my 15-year-olds was assaulted and then was sold throughout California for over a year. And as you can imagine, it was just disheartening to not only know that this was impacting my student, but also to learn that this was not an anomaly, that this was a commonplace for us here in the U.S., where our U.S.-born children, women and men, are being sold either for sex or being forced to work for free or very low wages. And this issue of human trafficking just sort of unfolded right before me. And as I went to find her, look for her, attempt to restore her, I became aware that, like I said, this was an epidemic. It was very prevalent. And I just, after many, many sleepless nights, decided to start our nonprofit, which is called Love Never Fails. Since that time, in December of 2011, we have actually, we did locate my student, and we were able to advocate for her to go into a program to be fully restored out of state. And she came back, and she's graduated from high school. She's gone on to a culinary academy, and she's just really rebuilding her life. But again, you know, what was pressed upon my heart was that this wasn't just her, but so many others that were out there.
Wow. Wow. What are some of the key therapies that Love Never Fails uses to restore the lives of young women and young men?
Yeah, so for the last 3.5 years, we actually have had a couple of houses opened, safe houses, for women and children escaping human trafficking. We've actually provided housing to 93 women now and 17 children in the last 3.5 years. And the kinds of therapy that we have in our homes includes art therapy, somatic therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, EMDR, is one of the ones that we're actually starting to explore now, because that is a particularly effective approach for people with high trauma. We also have utilized a variety of domestic violence counseling, drug and alcohol counseling. The level of trauma is unimaginable. And when you think about the average age of a person that's being trafficked being 12 to 14, and you think about the psychology of a child that age being violated in that way, and then you fast forward, because the people that we provide housing to are grown-ups, but think about if your first time that you were introduced to human trafficking, you were 13 or 14, and now you're 21. And all of that trauma that has set in. So you have to do a tremendous amount of peeling back an onion, if you will, to get to that trauma and really help the person see what it is. And then there's also a spiritual component to that, and so we do a tremendous amount of working on reconnecting each individual with themselves, with their creator, with their love for life, and with their purpose.
Restoration, yes. How much of a role does a person's voice play in their recovery?
Yeah, so it's interesting, the voice. You know, I've always been a very sort of outspoken person. You can't tell at all, right? Not at all. So that, you know, losing your voice, it would probably be hard for you to imagine that there are times when even someone like myself feels that our voice doesn't matter, feels that we're not worth speaking up. And on a personal note, part of what has caused me to want to be a volunteer dance teacher and work with at-risk youth was my own personal trauma, my own experience of being abused as a teenager and as a child. And what I found was a great way to express and come to my own voice was through dance. And so dance was my expression, was my unspoken way of healing. And dancing, specifically dancing, doing praise dancing, has really been hugely healing to my heart. And so I think that there are many different artistic ways that one can find their voice, and then to be able to bring it to actual words I believe that that's really the pinnacle, to be able to express what you feel and also what you're thinking, and even express your anger in ways that are constructive, express your criticism in ways that are constructive, are all things that determine whether you will be successful in the workplace, have successful marriage, be successful parents. And so I'm very excited about the voice and the different ways that voice comes into a relationship.
Wow. Can the voice of a girl or a woman help keep them safe?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that we've taught in prevention education over the years is that there's that still little voice that you hear when something is starting to feel uncomfortable. And even the voice when you're taught to ignore that still little voice, even as a child, those are the times when you really are violating your own conscience. And so even that speaks to the power of the voice within. And then as that power really begins to develop, you're able to speak out and say, no, stop, I'm uncomfortable. Or speak out to a loved one, help me, a safe loved one. And then even better, as you progress, advocating for others to have that same right and that same access to safety and to love and all of the basic human rights that we all deserve.
Yes, absolutely. So how can we teach girls to speak up when they are socialized to be nice and not show or verbalize anger?
Yeah, that's a tough one, and I've really struggled with that because, you know, some of the things that we are taught is to be passive and to almost taught to be very manipulative, to get your way, not direct. You know, find a way to manipulate the situation because people won't receive the direct communication that maybe our male counterpart might be able to deliver. And so I've been working on that over the years and counseling and trying to work through understanding what is appropriate pushback and what is verbal sparring. And when is it okay and how is it okay to say, I'm not comfortable with that without being, you know, insubordinate or divisive. And so there's definitely a science, an art form, it's not science, right? In pushing back and being who you are as a strong woman. And I think that there's spaces that are being created to make room for girls and women to be more of who they are and be accepted and appreciated as multifaceted, not just these sort of quiet, go with the flow kind of people.
I love it. We come in all shapes and sizes
That's
and
right.
vocal.
That's right. That's right.
So much we could say
Falsetto,
about
baritone, all that.
that. Any number of things we could say and descriptions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I think you are very effective at verbal communication.
No, thank you.
Were you always?
No. Oh my gosh, no. I think that my time at Cisco has really afforded me some wonderful opportunities to grow professionally. Cisco has provided a coach for me in times past, met much in the way of leadership training, and from a financial standpoint, so I would have some financial acumen in terms of speaking about topics like that, technology, speaking about how to lead people, and understanding the typical Myers-Briggs type of layout that all of us sort of have in terms of our personalities. All of those things have helped me raise my intelligence, right? Call it speaking intelligence, right? They've really raised my ability to hit on the points that are applicable to the audience, and certainly to be relevant with the right data points that make this worthwhile to the person who's on the other end. And so I do attribute much of that to that. And then, of course, as time has progressed with Love Never Fails, I've been doing quite a bit of public speaking. And I can tell you the first couple of times I was just sweating and praying and just rocking and shivering and saying every 5 minutes. And I'm just so grateful that someone invited me back a second time. And it's some of this just as practice makes perfect, right? Pitch perfect, right?
It's perfect. Well said. Yes, I call this vocal intelligence. As you said, speaking there is a vocal intelligence component.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yay.
I didn't know that. That's so good.
Yay. Well said. Next question, can you draw any parallels between your role at Cisco and the success of your baby, Love Never Fails?
Absolutely. I think that, at the core of that cross-section is a belief that you can take someone like myself who as a child was in foster care, someone who was living in poverty on what at the time we called welfare, living with a tremendous amount of want and a single parent family, difficult background. You can take someone like that and you can equip them with skills and encourage them and expose them to different countries and global economy and different technologies, and they can actually perform well in a corporate environment and even soar. And I've been happy to be the poster child for that, and also to be an encourager to many young people that are in the very circumstance that I was in, and say, this is not just for me, this is something that you too are able to do. And for me, I've gotten past the point of sort of being enamored with fancy cars and fancy house and all of the brand name things. But I'm able to show them all of the fancy things that I've purchased over the years and the houses I've purchased and the Mercedes Benz and all of these cool things that kids think about, and say, yeah, all of that is right within your reach. Although it's not what makes me tick. What makes me tick is you. You make me tick. And so my hope is that I will help them to transform the way they see themselves as so much more valuable than a car or a house or anything monetary that you can buy. But really, the most important thing that I could ever achieve is to encourage them to see themselves as someone who can achieve that same level of success, if not more.
Wow. Love that. Can you share some of the language and languaging skills that you teach the survivor thrivers?
You know, it's interesting. This is something that, quite frankly, I'm really looking forward to bringing you into the fold to help as we do more in the way of workforce development. We are, as you know, we have a program called IT Biz, where we have just finished our pilot this year, and we are equipping survivors of human trafficking, previously homeless, foster care, re-entry, pretty much anyone that we consider to be opportunity youth or opportunity young person to enter into a world of tech. And by way of Cisco certification and some other certs, some other IT certs. And one of the things that is so important is that they have the ability to do public speaking. Either in an interview, you know, interviewing is one, just small talk over dinner. When you have that first business meeting, what are you going to talk about? And then those larger opportunities to speak to a large audience or workshops and things of that nature. And so I'm really looking forward to bringing you in to help with that. But in general, I would say in the home, we really focus on listening, active listening, because there's a lot of when you're in conflict with your world, so much of your life, you internalize things in a way that could be very destructive. Something as simple as the way someone's looking at you. They may be staring into the sky, and the way you interpret that is that, you know, you don't like me, or you're looking at me funny, and you must want to hurt me. And so we really work on reframing the way that you take in the world, and reframing the way that you receive the world and the way the world receives you. And giving some light, shining some light on the fact that you may not always be received well, but that isn't your problem. That a lot of the time is the problem of the other person. And, you know, in my case, I just say, all you can do is pray for them and just keep it moving.
It's important for us to learn that, isn't it? It's
Yes.
not always about us.
No.
It's just not.
Right.
How do you define effective oral communication for folks who do want to be in leadership roles, in management?
Well, I think it's important, you know, when I put on my Cisco hat, some of the things that I think about, and with Love Never Fails as well, is who am I speaking to? Who is my audience? What do they care about? What is their emotional depth? Can I speak to this audience about some of the intricate traumas that some of the people that I'm engaging with are experiencing, or will that scare them to death? So I have to be very sensitive to that when I'm doing a Love Never Fails presentation, because the things that we're dealing with are beyond horrific. So you have to be sensitive to that. But if I'm dealing with ER doctors and nurses, they can handle a little blood, right? So, so a little trauma, right? So, so it just really depends. Who is your audience? In the area of technology, we always, you know, in the area of Cisco, we are always thinking, is this an engineering audience? Is this a business audience? Are the folks in this room people who are running the business, or just care about making their number? And these are all folks, different dynamics that will help shape the length of the conversation, the length of the way in which you communicate. Are you going to use slides? Are you going to do a demo? Are you going to do a whiteboard? What tools are you going to bring into your communication that are going to enhance what you're saying? And so all of that factors into the way that we approach delivering the message.
Do you set an intention? You know, for example, I'm here to educate, I'm here to inspire, funding.
Yeah, I think over the last couple of years, I've been a little bit better about doing that. Oftentimes, I go with just a gut check when I'm there. I
Yes.
kind of sense what's going on in the room. I may even walk around, talk to a few people, and I get a feel for what people need to hear dynamically. But generally speaking, especially in the beginning, everything was scripted. Every single thing. I can remember the first time that I actually was able to share a message at a church, and I wrote down every single word I was going to say, and I read it verbatim. And after it was done, I went, "Whew," and I'm done. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I know how to read. Oh, thank you I know how to read. And that was just getting through. Sometimes we just got to get through those
Yes.
beginning things,
We
right?
do.
And build ourselves up.
Build the confidence.
Yeah.
Yes, the effectiveness.
Yes.
I love that. And Vanessa, anything else we should know?
No, I just so grateful for the opportunity, and I love what you're doing and support you. And if there's anything that we can do, just let us know. Really appreciate you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you for these very insightful answers and what you do.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Dr. Miluna Fausch, and this has been Command the Room.